At first, it might feel like the emotional part of separation is the hardest. But what most people don't realize, until it's too late, is that the real danger often hides in your shared accounts. Not because your ex is evil, but because access lingers. Passwords get overlooked. Bank permissions stay active. And suddenly, you're dealing with mysterious transfers, drained balances, or worse, debt in your name. It doesn't matter who left who. Once the relationship ends, shared financial ties can quietly wreak havoc on your future. And here's the part no one warns you about. Banks don't automatically protect you. You have to take the right steps in the right order, or your ex could legally walk back in through a door you forgot to lock. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 powerful, legally sound changes you need to make to your accounts after a breakup. Especially if marriage or long-term cohabitation was involved. These aren't just helpful. They're essential if you want to protect your money, your credit, and your peace of mind. Stay with me to the end because the 5th one is the most overlooked, and the most dangerous if ignored. Let's get started. The moment separation begins, timing matters more than people think. One of the first and most urgent moves you need to make is this. Close or convert any joint accounts. And I'm not just talking about checking and savings. I mean everything. Credit cards, utilities, PayPal, even old Venmo accounts you haven't touched in months. Here's why this matters so much. Joint accounts give equal access. That means your ex doesn't need your permission to withdraw money, rack up debt, or even change account settings. In the eyes of the bank, you're still tied together. And if something shady happens, like a sudden transfer, a maxed out card, or overdraft fees, guess who's responsible? Both of you. That means you could be on the hook for damage you didn't cause. Let me give you a real example. One woman discovered her ex had used their old joint credit card. Yes, the one she thought was inactive, to book a last-minute vacation. By the time she caught it, her credit score had already taken a hit. And legally? The bank didn't care who swiped the card. Both names were still on the account. That's why step 1 is crystal clear. Call every bank, creditor, or service provider and ask to either close the account or remove one party. Some institutions will allow one person to stay on while removing the other. But others require both parties to close and reapply individually. It's a hassle, yes. But not doing it could cost you way more than a few phone calls. And don't assume silence means safety. Even dormant accounts can come back to bite you. So if your name is still attached, you're still exposed. But that's only the beginning. Because even after accounts are split, access can linger in ways you'd never expect. You'd be surprised how much your ex still knows about your digital life. The Netflix password might seem harmless. Until you realize that the same login could give them clues to your banking passwords, email, or even your location. Most people underestimate just how interconnected our digital accounts really are. If you were together for any amount of time, chances are your ex knows, or could easily guess, your go-to passwords. Maybe it's your dog's name, your anniversary date, or a favorite phrase you used often. Now imagine they try that on your email, or your online banking, or that cloud account where your old tax returns are stored. It doesn't take a hacker. It just takes someone who used to know you. That's why the next critical step is this. Change every single password. Not just your bank login, but everything tied to your identity. Email, shopping sites, social media, cloud storage, utility providers, even your frequent flyer miles. Why? Because many financial institutions send verification emails or text alerts when changes are made. If your ex still has access to any of those, they could intercept things without you ever knowing. And don't just change the password. Update your recovery options too. That means removing any old email addresses or phone numbers they may have used or had access to. The last thing you want is for them to click "Forgot password" and have a reset link sent to a device they still control. Here's the part most people forget. Some exes won't even need to log in to do damage. If they still have access to your email, they can spy on communication between you and your lawyer. If they know your Amazon password, they can track where you're shipping things. If they're logged into your phone plan, they can see call logs and even your location, depending on your settings. So do a full digital sweep. Don't skip any logins, no matter how small. Because once trust is broken, access becomes a liability, not a convenience. And in the next section, we'll talk about the invisible threat almost no one sees coming. Yet it can derail your entire financial future if you don't act fast. Here's where things get legally tricky, and dangerously expensive if you don't act quickly. Many couples keep joint accounts for convenience during marriage. Checking accounts, credit cards, lines of credit. But after a separation, those same accounts can become a financial time bomb. Because legally, if your name is still on it, you're still responsible for whatever happens. Even if you haven't touched the account in months. Let's say your ex racks up $6,000 on a joint credit card post-breakup. You're thinking, that's not my problem, I didn't spend it. But if your name is still on that account, the credit card company doesn't care who made the charges. They just see your name. Which means they can come after you. Wreck your credit. Garnish your wages. All for something you didn't even do. And it's not just about credit cards. Joint checking accounts can be drained overnight. Shared savings? One click and it's gone. Even if you trust your ex, or think you had a clean split, money can cloud judgment fast. Especially if one person feels entitled, angry, or panicked about their financial future. And the worst part? If they overdraw an account with your name on it, your credit could take the hit, and your bank might not be able to do a thing. That's why removing yourself from joint accounts isn't just smart. It's urgent. Call your bank or lender and ask what steps are required to remove your name or freeze the account. In some cases, both parties have to agree. In others, you may need to close the account entirely and reopen one in your own name. Either way, don't wait. The longer your name stays attached to shared money, the more risk you carry. And don't assume just removing your card or stopping use is enough. If the account still exists with your name on it, you're still tied to any financial decisions your ex makes, good or bad. So take action. Get your name off those accounts. And make sure your credit reports reflect the changes. Because in the next section, we're diving into something even more dangerous than shared money. Digital traps your ex could use to track you. Even after you think the relationship is over. Here's the part most people overlook. And it's the one that leaves you exposed in ways you don't even realize. After a separation, it's easy to focus on the obvious stuff. Bank accounts, property, child support. But what about your digital life? What about the quiet access points your ex still has that let them monitor your finances, location, even your habits, without you knowing? Think about it. During the relationship, you probably shared everything. Passwords to streaming services, your phone's cloud account, maybe even a joint Amazon or Apple ID. You might have synced devices, shared app logins, used the same security questions. And now that you've separated, that old access doesn't just disappear. Maybe they still have your banking apps saved on their phone. Maybe they're still logged into your email. Maybe they can still access cloud storage where tax returns, financial statements, or even sensitive legal documents are saved. Or worse, location tracking through shared devices like iPads or a family phone plan. And here's the reality. If your ex wants to monitor you, especially during a tense separation, they don't need to break into anything. They already have the keys. All they need to do is quietly keep watching. That's why this step is non-negotiable. Audit your digital footprint. Change every password, starting with your financial accounts, cloud storage, email, and phone provider. Use strong, unique combinations that they wouldn't guess. Don't rely on security questions they could answer. Reset those too. Next, log out of all devices remotely. Most platforms like Google, Apple, and Amazon let you see what devices are currently logged in. Remove anything that doesn't belong or looks suspicious. Disable shared apps, unlink family plans, and get your own accounts where needed. And finally, check your phone settings. Is their location sharing still turned on with someone you forgot about? Is Find My iPhone or Google tracking active on a device you used to share? Turn it off. Because digital access isn't just about snooping. It can lead to financial sabotage, identity theft, or even control. You might not see it coming until it's too late. But once you lock those doors, you take back control in a way that's silent, but powerful. And just when you think you've sealed every entry point, there's one more place your ex might still be clinging to power. Through the fine print in your financial agreements. That's what we'll unpack next. Here's the part that blindsides people the most. Months after the breakup, long after the emotional dust has settled, you're finally feeling stable again. Bills are paid, you've got your own bank account, and you're managing just fine. But then something weird shows up in your mail, or worse, on your credit report. And it turns out your ex's name is still connected to something you thought you already separated from. This happens more often than you'd think. You may have closed your joint checking account, but what about that old line of credit? The auto loan? The mortgage you both signed 5 years ago? Or the forgotten PayPal account still tied to a shared email address? These agreements don't care about emotions. They care about signatures. If your name and theirs are still attached, you're still legally bound. That means if they rack up debt, miss a payment, or default entirely, your credit could take the hit. And here's the thing. Lenders won't call to warn you. They'll just assume you're both still responsible. Because as far as the paperwork goes, you are. So what do? Start with a full audit of every financial obligation you once shared. Loans, lines of credit, utilities, subscriptions, digital payment apps, and insurance policies. Pull your credit report. Look for anything you forgot about or thought they'd already taken care of. Next, contact each institution directly. Ask what it would take to remove one party's name. In some cases, it's as simple as refinancing or closing the account. In others, it may take legal documentation, like a divorce decree or separation agreement. But don't assume anything has been taken care of just because the divorce papers were signed. Paperwork filed in court doesn't automatically update banks or lenders. You have to take that step yourself. Also, keep an eye on accounts you were never listed on, but may have co-signed for. Student loans, car loans, even private credit lines. If your signature is on the agreement, the lender doesn't care if you broke up. They only care if the bill gets paid. It's tedious. It's not fun. But every single name you remove is one less financial bomb waiting to go off under your name. And if you skip this step, it might not be your ex that ruins your credit. It could be your own silence. Coming up next, we're going to look at one final move that very few people take after separation. But the ones who do? They walk away with something most never get back. Total financial autonomy. Here's a reality that catches a lot of people off guard. Just because you're separated, or even officially divorced, doesn't mean your ex can't still try to open new accounts in your name. Especially if, at some point, they had access to your social security number, credit files, or personal identification. And unfortunately, it happens more often than you'd expect. Whether it's intentional sabotage, an act of desperation, or simply careless use of saved information, the outcome is the same. A credit hit that's both damaging and difficult to untangle. That's why one of the smartest, most underrated moves you can make after separating is freezing your credit. Or at the very least, monitoring it aggressively. Freezing your credit means that no one, not even you, can open a new account in your name without unfreezing it first. It's free to do through all 3 major credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And it's one of the most powerful ways to stop fraud before it even begins. Think of it as putting a deadbolt on your financial front door. Now, if you're not quite ready to freeze everything, monitoring is your next best defense. Set up alerts for any activity tied to your social security number. Sign up for a service that tracks inquiries, new accounts, and changes to your credit report. Some banks even offer this as a free benefit. The goal here is simple. You want to know the minute something suspicious happens, not 3 months later, when it's already ruined your score. And here's a tip. Even if you trust your ex, or you think they wouldn't dare try something underhanded, this isn't about them. It's about protecting your future from anyone who might have lingering access to your information. That includes friends, family members, or even past financial advisors you once shared. Because once someone opens a new credit card, takes out a loan, or co-signs something in your name, you're the one responsible for the damage. It can take years to reverse. But one credit freeze or a few smart monitoring alerts. That takes minutes to set up, and gives you peace of mind that no one's making moves behind your back. Coming up, we'll wrap this up with one final thought. A perspective shift that puts all these steps in context and helps you walk away from your separation not just protected, but empowered. Here's a mistake that's easy to overlook. Keeping joint accounts open just because they're not being used anymore. Maybe it's a shared savings account with a small balance, a credit card you both agreed not to touch, or an old auto loan you paid off years ago. It feels harmless. Out of sight, out of mind. But the truth is, these accounts are silent liabilities. And if you leave them open, they can come back to haunt you. Why? Because as long as your name is on a joint account, you're equally responsible for whatever happens to it. Even if you never touch it again. If your ex decides to take money out of that shared savings account, It's perfectly legal. If they run up a charge on that old credit card, your credit score could take the hit. And if something goes wrong, like a missed payment or overdrawn balance, you're on the hook, whether you caused it or not. What's worse, some people leave these accounts open out of guilt or sentimentality. We opened that account when we got married. It's just where the kids' tuition came out of. But emotions have no place in your financial survival strategy. Sentimental accounts still report to the credit bureaus. And guess what? Credit reports don't care about your divorce decree. That's why the smartest post-divorce move is to do a full sweep. Identify every joint account, bank accounts, credit cards, auto loans, store lines of credit, and shut them down or convert them into individual ownership wherever possible. You may need your ex's cooperation in some cases, especially if their name is primary on the account. But don't let their resistance stop you. Your lawyer or financial advisor can help you negotiate these changes if needed. And here's a pro tip. Don't just assume you remember them all. Run your own credit report. Look through every active and closed account. You might be surprised by what's still floating out there with both of your names attached. Because in the end, every open joint account is an open door. And you've worked too hard to rebuild your independence to leave anything to chance. So take the time, make the calls, close the loops. This isn't just about protecting your money. It's about reclaiming your financial identity and finally putting the past behind you. Now that you've seen the key moves that truly protect your future, the final takeaway is more than just a checklist. It's a mindset shift. Let's bring it all home with the conclusion. Looking back, protecting your finances after a separation isn't just about changing a few passwords or closing a couple of accounts. It's about reclaiming control over a life that's been shared for far too long. It's easy to assume things will settle down on their own or that your ex will do the right thing. But the truth is, passivity is the most expensive mistake you can make. Financial separation doesn't happen automatically. It's something you have to fight for, methodically, legally, and without apology. You've now seen the steps: removing shared access, updating beneficiaries, freezing joint lines of credit, rerouting payments, and finally, closing every remaining joint account. No matter how harmless it may seem, each of these actions isn't just a task. It's a statement. A declaration that your money, your name, and your future are no longer tied to someone who no longer shares your life. Maybe some of these changes felt uncomfortable or confrontational. That's okay. Boundaries often are. But they're necessary. Because once your finances are truly your own again, you'll feel it. A sense of quiet strength, like the moment the noise finally stops. It's not just about preventing what could go wrong. It's about building something new without dragging the past along with you. If you've made it this far, it means you're serious about protecting yourself. You're not just watching a video. You're taking control. And that alone puts you ahead of where you were yesterday. Now I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you're planning to change today. It could be closing a joint account, updating a beneficiary, or even just checking your credit report for the first time in a while. Whatever it is, commit to it. Take action. Your future self will thank you for it. And if you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it. These are the conversations most people avoid, but they're the ones that matter most. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.